Welcome, everyone, and thank you to the Operations Committee meeting for March the 7th. I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'll read out the land acknowledgement. As we gather this afternoon, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their history, and we're extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Roll call has been called.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and we have quorum.
Thank you. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? None being seen. We have the minutes of February the 14th in front of us. Could I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Township of McNabb Braeside and Town of Van Pryor. All in favor? Carried. And this afternoon we have the pleasure of having Councillor Mackenzie with us, and Renfrew, the Director of Public Works, has a delegation. Would you just like to come forward, please?
Great. Thank you, committee members and county staff, for providing me the opportunity to come here today. As mentioned, I'm Renfrew, the Director of Public Works for the Township of McNabb Braeside, and the reason for me coming today as a delegation is to provide the Operations Committee with feedback regarding the proposed changes to the county policy regarding road rationalization. As representing a lower tier municipality, continued dialogue and discussion with the county on issues impacting all residents of the county of Renfrew is important, and I thank you once again for continuing to promote this. Next slide. From the TAC guidelines, I pulled out 3 statements about what road classification is and why it's important. So road classification is the orderly grouping of roads into systems according to the type of service they provide to the public. A road classification system establishes the hierarchy of roads that provides for the gradation and function from access to mobility. And a road system operates most efficiently and safely if each class of road is designated to designed to serve its intended purposes. So we can see from this is that an efficiently operated and safe road network is achieved by having appropriately classified roads based on the function that they provide to the public. Next slide. As we've all likely seen before, there are a number of typical road classifications for either a rural or an urban road. And from the figure provided, the function of the road also changes for the different road classifications as the road moves from providing strictly property access to one that is servicing an increasing amount of traffic. We can also see that each road class leads into the next, which is why we don't see or typically see local roads connecting into a freeway. This ties back to the previous slide where an efficient road networks has an appropriate hierarchy of roads. Next slide. This slide provides us an overview of the existing road network within a portion of the county of Renfrew. The red lines show the provincial highways, green lines are the county roads, and the black lines are the municipally maintained roads. So in general, you can see the hierarchy of roads serving different functions within the county. The municipal roads provide the property access, county roads provide the traffic function, and then the provincial roads provide an even greater level of traffic movement. I guess the other takeaway from the slide is that our county is so big I can't even fit it onto one slide. So we know we're dealing with a large community. Next slide. So we've established that each road can serve a different function within the network. So when we come to road rationalization, it is the process of separating the road network into groups of roadways that service similar functions and provide similar levels of service to the public. In 1998, OGRA established a framework for completing such a road rationalization study, which included a number of criterion to weigh against each road to determine if it met the threshold to be included into the upper tier system. I'm sure each committee member can think of the road network within their own municipality and see how this process is put into action. Next slide. The proposed 2023 update of the county road rationalization policy follows the OGRA framework and appears to have a similar purpose, being local municipalities have jurisdiction over roads that provide a function of access, and the county roads have jurisdiction over roads that service a through traffic function. However, the new policy contains two new requirements. One being the pavement must meet or exceed a pavement condition index of 70, and the other that the road structure must meet or exceed the current county standard specification as outlined in policy PW01. This comes also with the caveat that a municipality may upgrade the roadway or provide the estimated amount of money for rehabilitation to the county. Next slide. If we look at the life cycle of a road section, a pavement condition index of 70 can have several different meanings. It could mean that that it needs a rehabilitation in 2 to 3 years, which is kind of maybe a laser pointer doesn't show. It's working here. Or it could mean that it needs a reconstruction in 5 to 7 years, which is sort of shown here. But a PCI value of 70 clearly indicates that work has not recently been completed on the roadway. So under the new policy, any road below a PCI of 70 will require a rehabilitation or reconstruction, which would bring the pavement condition to about 100, and correspondingly would have about 20 to 25 years without any significant work to be completed, which is sort of anytime there's a reconstruction or rehabilitation, we're back up to 100, and then there's a longer period of time between any future work that needs to be completed. So next slide. So based on the discussion of the previous slides, the 2023 update of the county policy appears to place the responsibility on the lower tier municipalities to achieve road rationalization in the county. It also places the financial burden of achieving road rationalization on individual lower tier municipalities, and as a result does not promote economic growth within the county. As we have discussed, road rationalization is a process of classifying roads and establishing the desired jurisdiction of that asset. By introducing specific pavement condition indexes and road-based criteria as part of this policy, it is effectively relying solely on the lower tier municipality where the road is located to finance these projects in order for the road network within the county of Renfrew to operate in the most efficient and safe manner. This is after we've established that the road serves the function of traffic movement and should be transferred to the upper tier. So as a result, we will have roads functioning as county roads where users expect a higher level of service. However, solely due to the lower tier's inability to meet the road condition requirements of this policy, the road will remain with the lower tier municipality and road rationalization will not be achieved. Next slide. I believe the committee members are aware of McNabb Brayside's request to the county to assume Campbell Drive into the county road network. So I'll just take a moment to highlight the reasoning why we feel that this should occur. Based on the criterion established in the road rationalization policy, Campbell Drive scored 10 out of 15 and exceeds the minimum threshold of 6. It provides direct connection to Highway 417. It serves as a primary function of the road is through traffic. Most traffic is generated outside of McNabb Braeside as it uses the link between River Road and Highway 417 for residents of Horton, Whitewater region, and beyond the Quebec border crossing at Portage de Fort. Campbell Drive is also a Class 3 highway as defined by the minimum maintenance standards, and this is currently the only Class 3 highway that the township has under our jurisdiction. Next slide. This slide shows the link between River Road and Highway 417. This is via 2 other township roads, being Stevenson Drive and Braylock Road. So River Road is at the top, and here is the interchange at Highway 417. In 2020, traffic counts on Braylock Road were done, and the average annual traffic on that road was 831, with the daily high of 1,080 vehicles. So with more people returning to work, these traffic volumes may have increased and may require us to reclassify these roads as well to Class 3 highways. Next slide. This slide extends the road network out even further, which shows River Road being parallel to being a parallel network to Highway 17, which takes traffic from Whitewater region and the Quebec border through Horton and then through McNabb Braeside to the interchange at Campbell Drive. This parallel network allows travelers or users traveling east to access Highway 417 without having to make a left-hand turn onto Highway 17, eliminates the slowdowns at the signalized intersections at Bruce Street and O'Brien. So we can see River Road being this parallel network, funnels all the traffic from Whitewater region through Horton and then through McNabb Braeside to the intersection. It eliminates users having to turn left at the stop signs at any of the intersections beyond Renfrew. Next slide. This is just another expanded view. Continue to see the parallel network, continues to extend into Whitewater region, along Queens Line, up to Beachburg, up to Westmeath. So I trust with this, it is clear why McNabb Braeside has made the request for Campbell Drive to be assumed into the county road network. It provides a through traffic function for users well beyond the borders of McNabb Braeside, and it connects directly to a 400 series provincial highway. Next slide. So in conclusion, it's therefore requested that the County of Renfrew Operations Committee consider the following with regards to the draft county policy for road rationalization. The requirement for a PCI value of 70 and specific road-based composition be removed from the policy. Acknowledgement that roadways meeting the criterion to be transferred to the county serve a function that extends beyond the boundaries of the lower tier municipality in which the road is located, and that the goal of road rationalization is to determine the appropriate jurisdiction of the road, and that the design and maintenance standards meet the expectations of all road users. So I thank you again for your time and for allowing me to be a delegation today, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ryan. Excellent presentation. I think we've seen it on the screen, done the way that you put it together really sells the road for what is required to do to meet the expectations of the traveling public. So well done. Mark, have you got anything you'd like to add to that?
Not really. It's coming up further on the agenda, and we may have a few other points at that point.
Okay.
But the presentation was complete.
Thank you. Questions from the floor? Township of, Town of Renfrew.
Thank you. So if I understand correctly, the major concern is the PCI index more than anything else, because it looks like, just on a quick look at your presentation, and then also the policy, that, Campbell Drive certainly merits discussion and likely at some point would end up in the county system. So the main hang-up is the PCI index, or the PCI value of the pavement of Campbell Drive. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, so I think our main concerns are putting a condition or specific requirements regarding the condition on the roadway, and then also the financial burden of those clauses, right? Because we've established that those roads are servicing users well beyond our borders, right? So to put the financial burden on one municipality, no matter if it's ours or any other municipality that's seeking road rationalization or seeking a road that has, either due to outside forces, right? The interchange was constructed at Campbell Drive at 417, so it's outside of our ability to change that requirement, right? So things have changed, which have changed the traffic patterns there, which has increased the traffic and increased the users of that roadway. So we're looking for this policy to be inclusive of that, and recognizing that the users of this road are not just McNabb Braeside users, and through that, it's through this current policy or this proposed policy, it's putting a higher level of financial burden on the local municipality where that road is located.
Peter?
Supplementary. Respectfully, though, I think we at local levels do that with developers, don't we? We set a standard before we assume the road into our network. Like, we don't usually accept a substandard road. We send out the criteria to them when they're building the road or upgrading the road if they're attaching it to a municipal sector. So I would struggle, frankly, not having a standard that's acceptable to bring it into the system. So I'll leave that with you.
Comment? None? Staff?
Yeah, well, actually, Mr. Chair?
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll just offer a comment to my colleague from Town of Renfrew. So last year, the McNabb Braeside Council passed a resolution to have the county assume Campbell Drive into its road network as per the road rationalization that existed before and is outlined more succinctly by Mr. Frew. So your question was, what's the stumbling block is? I don't think that's a question for us to answer. I think that would be more for staff to answer what is the stumbling block of doing that.
Peter?
Okay, so that helps me a lot. So what is, in essence, this is a request to go back to the old standards, because the application for acceptance has been lingering for a while, as opposed to applying what new standards we might put in place this year. So is that more of the focus of this presentation?
Through the chair to my colleague, I wouldn't quite put it that way. This presentation was on the actual policy moving forward, which is far more than Campbell Drive. So down the road, there'll be other situations that this policy would apply to, and so a good policy will cover many variety of situations. In terms of this policy versus the old policy, that'll probably come up in discussion on the agenda later. But Campbell Drive was brought up during a time when the previous policy was in force. Mr. Frew's outlined the major differences with this policy, and It doesn't affect the spirit and the letter of the road rationalization policy, because our point is that the PCI index is a separate point completely from what road rationalization is, whether or not this should be a county road. This should be a county road. It's for all the reasons that the Good Roads Association defines road rationalization. It serves greater area than, it's not a collector for our own township. It goes to a 400 series highway. So the PCI index is the major change in this policy, and we've outlined several reasons why that it isn't consistent with the overall road rationalization policy, not the least of which is if the lower tier is to bring it up to standard, as Mr. Frew pointed out, you can't bring it up to a standard of 70. You have to bring it, it goes to a standard of 100 once it's paved. So it doesn't adequately address this situation or any other future situation where the existing PCI index is below 70.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from staff at this point? No? The chair totally agrees with what's being said from McNabb Braeside here on two fronts. The first front is we need a new road rationalization, and I don't think we're quite there. There's going to have to be a review with committee to make 100% sure everything is in the new policy that's covered. I totally agree with the statement that the mayor has made during the presentation that this particular road is grandfathered in because of the fact that all the rationalization was brought to this table and agreed upon, and then turn around and not move ahead with the road. And I do feel that that's very unfair to the municipality to be dealing with something that they're told this is what our policy is, and they met every bit of the criteria on that policy 100%, and then turn around and tell them that, no, you have to follow this new policy. I don't feel that's fair business for the county to be doing like that. I totally agree with a new policy. There's no doubt about that, but that's certainly not something that I see being on the table at this point. That road should be classified in the way with the classification that we give them for the road rationalization. There's something that'll have to come to the council as a whole to actually determine if that's the truth of the matter or not. But that's where I sit on it, and I have from the very day that happened in this chambers. That didn't come to the table to be passed to move forward with it. It got moved on to the new council, and I feel that we need to honor what we actually give the municipality to begin with. Town of Empire.
Thank you, Chair. I concur with what you're saying in that the new policy is a new policy that has to be discussed and then taken to council and get approved. And yes, I agree that Campbell Drive in this instance is under the old policy for the criteria. What I don't see somewhere in the negotiations, I guess, is I don't know when the last time Campbell Drive was rehabbed or whatever from McNabb Braeside. I don't see costing to see what it's going to cost the county if we take it 100%. I don't see a costing if there's a percentage to bring this up to a 70 with joint forces, county and municipality. Right now, I don't know fundings, Until then, I agree with your statement on policy, old and new. McNabb is under old. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? If I may respond to the town of Vampyre's comment, I totally agree, Dan, that this needs to be addressed, and we need to sit down with McNabb and come up with a formula that will work for both the county and the municipality. But this road would be the last road that would be under the old policy by any extent, and I think that's a very fair statement, that we need to sit down and see where the asset management plan in McNabb Braeside actually has financing available to help with the road or not, because it should be in their asset management plan that there is money being already set aside, and that we need to look at that. I don't disagree with that. So, Mark?
Yeah, we don't disagree with that either.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
we just need to establish the right policy for the county moving forward to cover many situations.
Yep.
And then we understand that it'd be a benefit to the township for the financially for the county to assume that road. And we're well aware of that. And, you know, we would be pleased to find the money in our asset management plan that could go towards that. And
Okay, thank you. Director Perkins.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, just for clarification, so from the October minutes, so resolution number OPC 2210-112, so it was moved by, at that time, Warden Robinson, seconded by Councillor Hunt, that the Operations Committee recommend that resolution number OPCC 2210-112 be tabled until February 2023, and further that staff develop a policy that provides provisions for conditions of a lower tier road prior to being uploaded to the county. So that was the direction that was given to us. So just for clarification and for knowledge.
Comments on Director Perkins' comments? None, except mine. I think it was about time. It was unfortunate that the road rationalization hadn't come before us and actually being reviewed before it actually got handed to the municipality. But once it did get handed to the municipality, I feel that as a councillor at the table, I would have to argue that the road rationalization policy that McNabb Braeside had is the one we have to live by and move forward. And I'm certain that we're going down the right road, and there is a few issues there that we need to address in there to finish up that policy, but they're all committee issues. So, Craig.
Yeah, I'm not from Deep River. So for just to weigh in, if I'm reading this, and we'll discuss this more in the agenda, is you're right, Chair, Vice Chair, is that the wording is somewhat vague because we've tabled the concept of taking on Campbell Drive, but the secondary motion was to get a road rationalization, but the applicability of that isn't clear. We didn't say table and then develop a new policy that thou shalt be applied to the Campbell Drive uptake. I'm not sure if that was the intent at the time. I'd have to go back and watch the video. But when we get to discussing the applicability of the new policy or the grandfather policy,
Yep.
I think there is room for that discussion in that motion, at least anyways, as I'm interpreting it at the moment.
Okay. Comments? Okay, so where we're going with that particular one then, it'll come up in the Public Works Engineering Department reports in a few minutes now, and then we can We'll move on from there. Sorry, Town of Renfrew.
If I might, so would it make sense then that to separate the two issues? So one is make a recommendation to council, either that McNabb Brayside's application for Campbell Drive be considered under the old criteria or the new criteria, and then the second thing is we go ahead with the road rationalization, project. So,
Okay.
so I think
Thanks. Greg?
Through you, Chair, that's how I see it. I think that would be a logical step.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so Lee, if you would take your departmental report, please.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. First of all, thank you very much for the presentation, Ryan and Councillor McKenzie. Very informative and very well done. Item 1 of my report starts on page 2, and it's the policy for the PW20 snowmobile trails along county roads right-of-way. And this, of course, is a draft policy. As you recall, in January, we had a request from Snow Country Snowmobile Region was received and approved for the use of a trail along County Road 58, which is Round Lake Road in Laurentian Valley. And at that time, committee requested that staff develop a policy as it relates to future requests. So attached as Appendix 1 is a draft of that policy, PW20, snowmobile trails along county roads right away. Staff are requesting that elected review and questions to be submitted to the director prior to March 31st, and also be considered as part of the final policy, and to present this at Operations Committee and County Council. And also we will circulate this to the local snowmobile clubs as well for their input.
Okay. This is an information item. Is there any questions from the floor? Town of Renfrew.
Thank you. I may not have read this as thoroughly as I could have or should have, but I don't see anything about where it mentions crossing. It says alongside. Yeah. So will we have to add a piece on crossing? I'm not sure if there's any trails presently crossing county roads, but I would be surprised if there wasn't. And then if we were crossing, should we have a policy about them being 90 degrees as opposed to 45? So maybe that's something that could be included in there, just for my...
Director.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Warden. Yeah, absolutely. Right now, the actual crossings are handled under a separate agreement with snowmobile clubs. This here is just for use in a right-of-way. So what we found, of course, is we would like to push them closer to a fence line as opposed to being on the shoulder of the road. But no, we can definitely consider it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the information item of snowmobile trail along a county road? None? Resolutions.
Thank you, Chair. And resolutions number 2 is hardened shoulder policy. So the recommendation here is that Operations Committee direct that a hardened shoulder policy for county roads be developed and presented to a future meeting of Operations Committee for consideration.
Mayor McKenzie. Sorry, I didn't read you give them the information, I didn't read it. I need a mover and a seconder, Mayor McKenzie. Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll just read the background here. So during the 2023 budget workshop, Council was informed of the current practice that the Public Works and Engineering Department has employed to include hardened shoulders on identified county roads. The current asset management plan has been revised to include these additions, or this addition to the county road system. Given this is a change in level of service, staff are requesting direction to draft a policy as it relates to the inclusion of hardened shoulders on all these identified county roads.
Comments? Mayor McKenzie.
Thank you, Chair. So through the chair to Mr. Perkins, you mentioned, I think, a number of $30,000 per kilometer. You also mentioned that having the hardened shoulders likely extends the life of the main road because you don't have the sides wearing away as quickly. Is there a number associated with that? That would, that we may be investing $30,000 for that, but it extends the life of that kilometer of road such to the fact that it doesn't quite cost the $30,000?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Good question, actually. As you've seen from Ryan's slide earlier, thank you, Ryan, it shows the actual pavement curves, right? So by actually replacing the road, we're not increasing the road life in terms of the asphalt life of the road. We are increasing the shoulder life, because what we've found here in the county of Renfrew is the roads were paved basically edge to edge. And of course, we were losing a lot of edge break, and then it would filter its way out into a lane of travel. And again, if anyone has traveled Calabogie Road recently, you'll notice that last year we actually did a patch for several kilometers. That's only just basically the damage that was done to the edge. So what I can share with you is that Lennox and Addington have been doing this since 2003, and their director is Chris Wager. And I actually reached out to him directly just to find out, like, are you seeing real benefits from this, right? So thankfully, Chris wrote back. They've gone to the full 1.2 meters, which is the active transportation network for bicyclists and other share the road users. What he's found himself, and this is just from him, is that they've found a reduction in maintenance costs are equal or greater to the installation cost of the paved shoulder. Also, the paved shoulder provides a better platform width for farm equipment, which extends the lifespan of the traveled portion of the asphalt, and they don't have edge breakup to deal with anymore. So I thought that was a really good testimony from a group that's employed it since 2003. So, but in the truth of it all, no, we're not. It's not going to save us money down the road, like in terms of when we come back to redo the road. It's going to save us time and effort on that edge break that we've been having over on our county roads.
Any other questions? None being seen. I would ask Director Perkins if who the community that he's dealing with, how many of their roads do they actually do? Because I've been having a struggle putting paved shoulders on the roads that are very difficult to do or don't require paved shoulders to begin with.
So thank you, Chair, and thankfully Lennox Addington did share their multi-use road facility network with me. So right now, on all their county roads, they have the 1.2 meters now. They have quite a substantially less of a network than we do, but they do have it on all their county roads. And they started in 2003, and they've built up to now to have it on all their roads. So it's where we, as the county of Renfrew, haven't adopted the full 1.2 because there's liability issues, of course, with the turning it into an active transportation route, but also the road widths in the county of Renfrew are not there. We'd have to actually build the road base wider to accommodate that extra 400 millimeters in some situations. And again, with the hardened shoulders policy, Taylor and I will take a deep dive, and his team will go into it and find out exactly what roads can accept the 1 meter, because there are quite a number of roads in the county of Renfrew that cannot accept it. And Taylor has already done that to a great degree with the asset management plan, so it'll make it a lot easier when we come forward with an actual policy, and we will have the roads laid out. And at that point in time, it's hoped that either you'll agree or disagree, and then we can. There'll be options. Like, do you want we deal with the cycling group, and they've identified certain roads that they would like to see as a hardened shoulder. I can tell you from past experience, right now the cycling authority is, the cycling group is very on board with what we're doing. But anyways, the hope is that we'll get direction from committee and move forward with a proper policy.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? None being seen. So my question is, obviously, some of our contractors do need a little bit of help with the hardened shoulders because Castleford area on River Road was done a few years ago. The shoulders are actually the wrong way to the pavement, and the water is now laying out 2 feet onto the travel portions of the pavement, which is fine because it's on pavement until the pavement cracks, and then the water is going down through the road 2 feet out from the pavement, and that don't make any sense. So I think there needs to be some education with the contractors to make sure that the pavement is sloped the proper way on the Head and Shoulders.
And if I may, Chair, so in that situation there, that was Head and Shoulders put on after the fact, right? Whereas now, when Taylor designs stuff, it's all part of the plan. So we don't get that line anymore. It's a full mat of asphalt completely across the road. So yeah, hopefully that won't happen
Shouldn't get
again.
back out to the Burnstown Road then.
That's right. And we will not be looking for waterfront property tax from the chair.
Right on. Okay, so I have a, pardon?
Mover and a seconder for directions, that's it. Right?
On the,
Is there? Okay.
you got a mover and a seconder, yeah. I just asked, is all committee in favor of what they heard tonight? Today, I should say. It's not tonight yet. Oh. Everybody in favor? You got a question?
Just a comment that in looking at it for the future and building the asset management plan, you could also look at a priority as to where need would be better than not as far as having that Head and Shoulder.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Watt. Yes, exactly. That's one of the options that we propose to bring forward. Is do you want to do a targeted Head and Shoulders, or do we want to apply it to all the roads that can accept it? So that's one of the options we will bring forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, all in favor? Carried. Item 3.
So thank you, Chair. And this is another policy, PW04, which is the regulating advertising signs and devices within the County of Renfrew, or within the county road allowance. And the recommendation here, I'll just give you some background first. Actually, we invited Nathan Kuyak. And so Nathan, of course, is our engineering infrastructure technician. And actually, this is the area that he looks after, is the speed and the signs and all those things. So I'll read the recommendation, but Nathan's actually going to give you the background and field any questions. So with that said, that the Operations Committee recommend to County Council that a bylaw be passed approving policy PW04, regulating advertising, signing, and devices within the county road allowance as amended. And further, that bylaw 5601 being a bylaw to regulate the placing, erecting, and altering of signs upon or adjacent to a county road, and associated policy PW04 signage be rescinded. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Umpire, second by Renfrew.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. Through the chair to the committee, the background on this is the County of Renfrew Public Works and Engineering Department continuously reviews the departmental policies and procedures with respect to corridor control of county rights-of-way in order to create a safe, efficient road allowances that meet the needs of travelers and residents of Renfrew County. The existing county signage policy, PW-04, attached as Appendix 2, was passed in November 2001 and has not been updated since that time. The policy was drafted with the intention of being very restrictive, in essence not allowing any private advertising signage to be placed within a county road allowance. At the time, some private advertising signage was already in place along county roads, particularly along roadways that were downloaded from the MTO to the County of Renfrew. Those existing signs were grandfathered and allowed to remain within the road allowance. Since that time, many small advertising signs have been erected within the road allowance, most often being placed on trees and utility poles. There have been some additional billboard signs installed under the approval of the Public Works and Engineering Department. Periodically, staff does remove signage that has been placed within the road allowance, particularly in cases where it may create a safety hazard. The enforcement of a zero-tolerance approach to private advertising within county road allowances has been time-intensive and the subject of much displeasure among Renfrew County businesses. Public Works staff receive many inquiries each year from small businesses around the county wishing to advertise their business in a county road allowance. At this time, they're instructed that no further signage is being permitted within county road allowances. Since the implementation of the current sign policy, county road allowances have become wider as staff continues to purchase property for road widening to meet the county standard of 26-meter road allowance widths. Annual brushing and periodic tree clearing from the road allowance has created more opportunity to safely place signage near property lines. In view of these changes, staff is of the opinion that allowing signage within the county road allowance under clear guidelines would be a benefit to county businesses and the Public Works and Engineering Department. A fee structure would be developed which would provide a source of revenue to the county. Attached as Appendix 3 is a draft copy of the updated County of Renfrew policy, PW-04, regulating advertising signs and devices within the county road allowance for consideration. And in support of the background information, we've prepared a few slides to demonstrate the types of signage that would and would not be permitted. So next slide, please. So this is a case along County Road 62, Cumbermere Road, where there's an existing billboard sign. There are excellent sight lines on the road and a wide road allowance which exceeds 26 meters. This is an old MTO highway, so it's very wide. The road allowance is brushed to the property line, so this is an example of an area where billboard signs could be permitted. Next slide, please. Here we have another case also along Cumbermere Road where the billboard sign is probably okay, but there are multiple small signs also erected on the trees there, and it's a posted speed limit of 70 kilometers an hour. It's very difficult to see these signs as you're driving by, and it's a bit of a sign clutter. In this case, we would look to eliminate all of those small signs and possibly permit the billboard sign to remain. Next slide, please. This is the current Public Works fee structure, which is in the Renfrew County fees bylaw. And so near the bottom there, highlighted is the current advertising signage fees. We'd be looking to update this at a future meeting. That's it. Thank you. Oh. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Chair. On our signage, do we have, when you see a provincial sign on the highway, they're all green with the kilometers and whatnot. Do we have a policy on our sign will be, if you're doing a travel lodge per se, or your hunting camp, it'll be X feet by X feet, so all hunting camp guys will be whatever?
These are just information signs? Not business signs then, I guess?
No, we're thinking of an advertising. I'm a Tim Horton person per se. My Tim Horton sign will be 2 feet by 3 feet, standard throughout the county.
That's not included in the policy here. We do have the tourism signage program as well, which are standard sizes, the 2 feet by 8 feet. The Tim Hortons example, I guess, would be different, and we don't have standards set for that in the policy, no.
My concern is when you're driving and you have multiple layers or size of signage, i.e. 4 feet by 8 feet, saying go to Dan's place, that'll catch my attention. But if I got a 2 foot by 2 foot going to Dan's place, you're not going to see me. So as a business, you should have a minimum of 4 feet by 2 feet, even if you're a coffee shop. So I'm trying to get some sort of a regulation to say your size will be minimum to be this. So the fee structure would be minimum, and then you can have a maximum to a 4 by 8 sheet per se.
Yeah, through you. Yeah, I agree. There should be a minimum is a good idea. Smaller signs are hard to see anyway, so that is not in there currently, but that certainly is something we can look at.
Supplemental, Chair. Thank you. Great presentation. With a little bit of a star with signage, Algonquin Trail, to incorporate your policy into the Algonquin Trail on signage. Not sure how that would work, but just a thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Page 23, bottom paragraph, talks about official signs. So I'm just that you may be trying to indicate directional signs on the right-of-way, but it says official signs, and that's the only reference to official signs in the whole document. So just some clarity on that when you get to a beyond draft. Thank you. And then supplemental, 4.8 in the snowmobile trails, and then 2.4 in your location of signs, in your signs. 4.8 talks about putting up directional signage on snowmobile trails on the right-of-way. It doesn't say anything about whether it has to be a separate post or a tree, but then 2.4 says it shouldn't be mounted on a tree. Location of signs shouldn't be mounted on a tree, public utility, and all of those things. So you may want to try and marry those together so the language is consistent. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? The only thing that I would like to see in the policy would be some kind of fine structure, because we have all kinds of signs that go up that do not get removed. And I agree with leaving the people know once, but like if it still remains here, because on some of the travels up here along the River Road, and some of them signs are outdated by 5 years still in the areas. And the phone number's there to contact the people if they're still in business to actually have them come remove it. They put it there for a purpose. They should remove it when they're no longer there. So. Who I got? Councillor Watt. Oh, sorry. Councillor Watt.
No, I had no comment. That hand signal was up from my first comment. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Need to make you bigger so whenever you go to speak, you just jump out on the screen. So, thank you. Oh, Town of Renfrew, sorry.
And to Director, thank you for these two policies. They're both, you can add as many nuances as there is days of the week to each section, so thank you for the effort to put these forward. They're very good.
Councillor McKenzie.
I would just like to confer with my colleague from Arn Prior that as much standardization as possible is, I think, beneficial for the traveler. If there's anything you can do with colors, for example, we've talked about business destinations versus historical things of historical interest, or just tourist. If there were different colors, and anything you can do along those lines, I think, will increase the user experience for the drivers.
I shut it off all the time and forget to turn it back on. So, all in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Chair. And item 4 is, again, another policy PW19, which is road rationalization. And the recommendation here is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council pass a bylaw approving policy PW19 road rationalization, outlining the criteria for lower-tier municipal roads being integrated into the County of Renfrew system. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that policy, please? Moved by Town of Renfrew. Second by Ann Pryor.
Thank you, Chair. And the background here is So policy PW19 road rationalization was developed based on the Ontario Good Roads Association from February 1998 road rationalization guidelines. Specific requirements that are to be met and are included in the terms of reference are consider road condition and compensation throughout the discussion of road transfers. Municipality may upgrade the roadway or provide the estimated amount of money for rehabilitation to the County of Renfrew. Pavement must meet or exceed the current County of Renfrew Pavement Condition Index, PCI, of 70, using the Ministry of Transportation Ontario's SP 024 to determine the deterioration and ride condition in calculation of the PCI. Road structure must meet or exceed the County of Renfrew standard specifications as outlined in policy PW01, which is roadway classifications and design. The County of Renfrew may request geological or geotechnical testing from the municipality to confirm the roadway structure, and of course involve the local municipality in the decision-making process by encouraging feedback and comments. So again, following the February meeting of committee, staff provided this draft policy on PW19 road rationalization, and we sent it out to the local municipalities for comment and consideration as part of the final policy. Staff reviewed the comments. We did receive comments back from two municipalities, two of our partner municipalities, and we did include the comments in the new revised policy. And we do have the policy attached as Appendix 4. So thank you. Questions?
Thank you. Comment on the road rationalization. Town Vampire.
Thank you, Chair. Just to reiterate what we talked about during the presentation, was that some sort of calculations, if the road does not meet 70 at 65, then there's some sort of conversation between the lower and the higher tier to get a settlement that the county takes on it, not just say it's 65, you're out of luck.
Comment.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor Lynch. Yes, actually, one of the recommendations from when we reached out to the lower tier was that exact issue. So what we've done is, here at the County of Renfrew, when we do go through our PCI once every 3 years, Taylor's group looks at the rideability and the condition of the roads, and we actually use the Ministry of Transportation's SP 024. So that would actually, in this instance here, if a municipality wished to put a road into the county's system, then we would actually use this SP 024 as the guidelines for what the quality of the pavement is. So, and if it did come back as 65, we would probably sit down with that municipality at that time and say, right now, our road rationalization policy states 70 as the PCI, and you're at 65. And from using the SP 024, we can identify where you could potentially bring the numbers up, as not opposed to having to do the whole road, a section of road. So it gives us a bit more flexibility in how we're dealing with the lower tier.
That answer the question? No.
Yes, just a supplemental. So I'm a municipality and I want to bring a road onto the county. I will use the county road rationalization, which is provincial anyway, so I should be using that originally anyways, right? So there's not going to be apples and oranges when we come forward to say, I use this formula and you use that one. Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comment on the road rationalization? The only thing that I see in the policy that is written, Director Perkins, is the fact that, but I'm going to use Campbell Drive has, for instance, this time around, is the fact that the traffic that's eliminated off the Braeside stretch and Sandpoint stretch by using Campbell Drive is of sufficient value to the county to put some kind of number towards that. I know it's not in the ministry guidelines, but really every vehicle that we keep off that River Road section between Sandpoint and Braeside is a big benefit to the county and really supports the purse. Mayor McKenzie.
So, thank you, Chair. So just to get the procedure straight for myself at this point. So earlier during the presentation, we talked about having two separate recommendations here. One, whether or not we were recommending this policy be presented to council as written, or possibly with some amendments. And the other one is specifically with respect to Campbell Drive, whether or not it is appropriate for it to be grandfathered, or whatever, be subject to whatever this policy states. I'm just asking for point of order here, I guess, or procedure is, can we separate that out and maybe deal with the Campbell Drive issues first? And that would put this into perspective better.
Thank you for the question. I'll pass that back over to Director Perkins. Oh, yeah, I know Peter's.
So, yeah, it was my intent to bring that up under new business, but would be more than happy to make a motion at this point that committee recommend to County Council that the, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm just suggesting, sorry, Warden, that there is a motion on the table already. Now, you could leave them, I'm satisfied that the motion is fine as it is, and then you introduce another motion, or you could amend this one that that this shall not apply, or this shall apply to Campbell Drive. Either way you want to go.
So could I suggest an amendment and further that the application by the Township of McNabb Braeside for the assumption of Campbell Drive be considered by committee and council after a report from staff using the criteria that was in place prior to December 31st, 2022.
Can I, sorry, I'm going to help you out a little bit.
Certainly, please do.
This is my job. Is that, and this, you could just say, and that this shall not apply to, or effective, yours is fine, just very wordy, as it were.
What a shock.
And that the application, or and that the request for the upload of Campbell Drive hereby not be applied, or not be applicable, or something like that.
And the rationale, the rationale was because there was some conversation about some kind of a cost-sharing arrangement. I think that warrants longer discussion. That's why I was trying to give it a little legs, and there'd be a report back.
How about, sorry, Chair, I'm just struggling with this one a little bit. It's not even really an amendment at this point. It's becoming a new motion altogether. I think I like your original. Wait, let's move forward with this one. And then I would suggest introducing a new motion specific to Campbell Drive, and it's a little cleaner, I think, in that fashion, if I can.
Okay. Oh, Emperor.
Thank you, Chair. The word cleaner was very much in my point to say to the CAO. Two different motions. The one with the Campbell Drive can be more specific with what we want, and that'll give a different flavor to council when it comes forward. Thank you.
Okay. So the motion on the floor right now that we got mover in a second to is the one we're passing, and we're Campbell Drive will be then a new motion then, right? Mayor McKenzie.
Could I suggest that we table this motion for 15 minutes and deal with the Campbell Drive issue first as a separate motion, and then it'll be much easier to put this in perspective for everything the county is going to be dealing with in the future.
Okay, so right at the moment, I do have a mover and a seconder for item 4, which is the road rationalization policy. Do I ask that to be? How do I handle that?
This move to be tabled, so now
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, and I would second that if the rules permit it, just simply for 15 or 20 minutes to get the other motion dealt with and then come back to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now they're going to propose a new motion.
Okay, right on. Okay, Mayor McKenzie, your new motion.
Okay, so my motion is to table the road rationalization policy motion for 15 minutes.
Okay, is that what we're looking to achieve here? Yes?
I would second it.
I think it's not debatable, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we've
Not
got it.
mistaken.
Okay, all in favor? Carry. Okay, so I need another motion for Campbell Drive, please.
Thank you. I'd be prepared to make a motion that the application to upload Campbell Drive to the County of Renfrew made by McNabb Braeside in 2022 be considered under the auspices of the previous policy that was in effect prior to December 31st, 2022, with an understanding that there will be some negotiations and a report brought back by staff with a recommendation.
Okay, do I have a mover for the Town of Vampire? Oh, Peter moved, sorry. I'll get there. Peter moved it, Town of Vampire seconded. Yeah, all in favor. Carried? Oh, okay. You got a whole bunch they're coming from. Discussion, please. Oh,
Councillor
sorry.
Watt.
Councillor Watt?
Should there be some clarification as to cost sharing for the two reasons where the PSI of 70 is not there, as well as much of the use and the transportation that's going on is not necessarily from the residents of McNabb Braeside?
Thank you. Town of Renfrew.
Respectfully, I think that was the idea with the inclusion of negotiation and a report back forward, brought back to committee and council, was that there, the conversation indicated there was some need to have some discussion. There was some hints, allusions to possible cost sharing. So I think it makes sense to let those conversations evolve and then come back.
Councillor Watts, you okay with that?
Yes, I was just looking for a little bit more clarification on the 2 points. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so where do we go now? Well, all in favor? Carry.
Now back to the original motion.
Okay. So we are now back to the original motion. The original motion did have a mover and a seconder. Am I correct in that? So I just need any more discussion on the original motion of the new road rationalization policy.
If I might, can I ask a question? Page 38 and page 40, where you find the numbers 4 kilometers and then 700 vehicle trips, a minimum 700 vehicle trips per day. Is that an industry standard? And then if you could explain some of the other numbers, 2,000 meters, 1,200 meters, stuff like that, if you don't mind.
Director Perkins.
Thank you, Chair. So what you're looking at here is a direct copy of the OGRA, the Ontario Good Roads Association's road rationalization. I've not changed any of that at all. So that is all industry standard. And interestingly enough, a number of counties in Eastern Ontario still use this as a guideline. There's not many of them have an actual road rationalization policy. So. Is that okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor McKenzie.
So a few points. I think it's very well written and very comprehensive. Cleans up and clarifies in greater detail what the Ontario Good Roads Association provides. So keeping in mind that, you know, it was overdue for a redo, seeing it was a couple decades old. And it was triggered somewhat by the Campbell Drive discussion in the last council. I just want to go back to I should print these things out. It's easier to flip around. And in the terms of reference, the way it's written seems to be different from how I heard it. So pavement must meet or exceed the current County of Renfrew pavement condition index of 70. Oh, there we go. Using the MTO's SP024 to determine the deterioration right condition to calculate the PCI. So again, moving forward in some other situation where the road isn't at an index of 70, doesn't seem to be clear in this policy as to whose responsibility it is to bring that road up the condition. If it's the responsibility of the lower tier, wherever it is in the county, in whatever situation, whatever year in the future, then they'll be bringing it up to 100. There's no way to bring it up to 70. So I'm just wondering if that can be fixed in this policy moving forward.
Director Perkins.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, this clause here, pavement must meet or exceed the current County of Renfrew pavement condition index of 70. We added the extra part of it, the Ministry of Transportation, SP024, after I conferred with Taylor, and also it did come from, this was a recommendation from contact with one of the lower tier municipalities. So what this does for you is, you may have a road, for example, you got 1 kilometer of road, and of that kilometer, 30% of it is gravel, and the other 70% is at 100. So then that would actually give you theoretically a PCI of 100, or a PCI of 70, even though 300 meters of the road are gravel. So by using the SP204, the potential is that it factors in how much deterioration has occurred on other sections of road. Like you may have half of that road may be brand new, and the other half may be potentially at a PCI of 50, but by combining both of them together now, you actually get to a 70. So it actually gives a little more latitude in terms of, the easiest way for me to describe it is the County of Renfrew, we do segments. We do road segments, normally 1 kilometer long or theoretically between 2 offshoot roads, but that's how Taylor and his group calculate the PCI. So by using this clause here now, it's exactly how we do it, and it also would give a lower tier a much better chance of passing the 70 criteria, because they may have a section of the road that's brand new and another section that may be deteriorated below 70, but the overall road would be above 70. So it's a little bit more latitude, or that's what we feel it is anyways.
Mackenzie.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. That makes more sense for sure, and I appreciate understanding the nuances between SP024 and how that relates to the PCI of 70. I still haven't heard that even within those guidelines, if the overall road is below the criteria, how that would be handled.
Director Perkins.
Yes, thank you. So in previous instances where we've had a lower tier partner try to upload a road to us, at that time we used the previous guidelines, the OGRA guidelines, and recommendation was brought forth by staff, by myself and staff, that the road not be accepted, and it was because they didn't reach the criterion. Had nothing to do with pavement index at that time. It was just, was it a connector between Kings Highway and a county road, or was it between 2 urban centers, the biggest deal in the one that was previously tried to be uploaded was there wasn't the daily traffic of 1,000 cars wasn't there. So it didn't meet on that right away. So, because when you go back through the criterion as per the OGRA document, it has to meet so many criteria. And of course, Campbell Drive in October, it met the guidelines at that time to become a county road.
Any more questions on? Go ahead, Mayor McKenzie.
So there's the traffic counts, the usage, the other factors in the OGRA criteria. And as I understand it correctly, there is no criteria or standard in Good Roads Association or Ministry of Transportation of Ontario guidelines for any PCI index or SP 024 in that category for a road to be uploaded. Is that right?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to Councillor McKenzie. Yes, that's correct. Actually, Mr. Frew explained it much better than I did. I do apologize. But yes, as you've seen from Mr. Frew's slide presentation, and he did an excellent job of showing what the classifications of roads are and how a local road ties into an arterial road, and an arterial road ties into a highway. So yes, but you're exactly right. There are, in the OGRA designation, there is a criterion for road surface, but when it comes to the actual uploaded road, it doesn't factor into the condition. So there is no PCI in the OGRA document at all. We added it to the new policy.
Okay. Town of App-Rider.
Thank you, Chair. Just a comment. When we take this new road on, it becomes part of our asset management, which then brings us on to how we're going to maintain it. So the more road mileage we have, the more cost it will be over time to maintain these things. So if you're going to take all these municipal roads to bring them onto county, we best have a lot of money in our capital projects. Thank you.
Mayor McKenzie.
Yes, that's a good point. There's the ongoing maintenance, and this is one of the reasons why we've asked for it to be uploaded, because with the higher standard of salting, for example, with that much traffic, just over time, that's just a safety issue. In the specific case of Campbell Drive, we did confirm with the roads manager, roads garage manager of Goshen, Darren England, that this stretch of Campbell Drive would be part of the route which has the least amount of kilometers, and there would be no additional capital requirements to serve this road. There would be per kilometer maintenance, but no additional salt and whatnot, time, wear and tear on the vehicle and whatnot, but no additional capital requirements.
Okay. Director Perkins, we are talking about the road rationalization policy, not specific to Campbell Drive. So that what's in front of us right now, and moved and seconded, is the overall new policy for road rationalization. Any other comments? Town of Renfrew.
So just in terms of consistency, this one piece about the PCI 70. So we are going to be sitting down at some point to review our asset management plan, and part of it may end up moving the PCI up or down. So if we can just make sure that wording reflects the current County of Renfrew, whatever that is, then we don't have to go back and have a disagreement about it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to next time make our Director Davies to actually change the sign in front of where you're sitting. Go ahead, Mayor Mackenzie.
So I'm still stuck on this point a little bit. I'm just wondering if the word must is critical. I'm just wondering if the policy needs to be this specific. Because each road will have to be voted on separately for the county to upload it. And there may be some situations where it's below 70 and it may be in everybody's best interest that it be uploaded. So I'm wondering if the policy needs to be this specific and restrictive, if we can change the word must to should, then I think that will be more universal going forward. And it would be a council decision at the time.
Thank you. Comments from Director Perkins?
Oh, yes, thank you, Chair. No, we can, yeah, it's a motion to change now, right? Yeah, because we've actually, this is the draft policy we're bringing forward for approval.
Mayor Mackenzie?
The point of order, can it not be approved with a change by this committee?
Craig?
Because you're substantively changing that policy, it should be direction of staff to make that change by motion. So your motion to direct staff to change the policy, to change the wording, because it's substantive, because you're changing a must to a shall, or a should, I should say. So if you just put a motion on the table, vote on that, and then it'd be, the policy will come forward with that amendment. It doesn't change the original motion. The original motion would still stand, but the direction to amend the appendix will be there.
Mayor Mackenzie?
So just so I understand, through the chair to the CAO, would it then come back to committee, or would it then go to council?
Through you, Chair. So what you've got in front of you is a recommendation to bring the policy to council. But your direction is to bring in the amended, this committee is this amending that, the actual bylaw that will then come back to county council.
Go ahead. Something right?
So I'd like to move that, to amend policy to change the word must to should in point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, in point number 8 or 7 of the terms of reference.
Okay. Okay, moved by the town rep. Councilor Watts?
Just so we can hear you, that's why you need to use the microphone.
Oh, I see, okay. Okay, sorry. We all in favor of that? Oh, discussion? Go ahead, town rep.
Thank you, Chair. I'm opposed to the word. I think must is must. It's a policy. It's a firm statement. And if you put a should, then there's a wiggle room, and we don't need wiggle rooms in policy. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so where do we go from here then? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Was Councilor Watts in favor? I didn't see his hand.
Yes, I guess you missed my hand. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll bring it back with should, and we'll take council's document.
Okay, we're back.
Sorry, I should use the microphone for Councillor Watt. So you voted on the direction of staff, but you still have the dangling question of the motion on the original recommendation in front of you. It has been moved by the warden and by Councillor Lynch.
Okay, any other discussion on the original motion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
And thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee. That concludes my section of the report, and now we will move on to infrastructure. Mr. Hanrath.
Thank you, Director Perkins, and we'll move on to Taylor's report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee. So my section of the report starts on page 42. Information item number 1 is County Road 635, Swisher Road Culvert Supply. Public Works and Engineering Department issued an RFP for the supply of a culvert for a cross culvert replacement on County Road 635, Swisher Road, approximately 200 meters north of Highway 17. We allowed for a number of options to be proposed for the culvert replacement. All of the options are shown with their prices in the report for committee's reference. To provide some further background, so the drainage system, the existing drainage system is unique in that a catch basin is present on the inlet side of the culvert, and the outlet is approximately 16 meters below the elevation of the center line of the road. The drainage system began showing signs of failure in 2020 and was originally planned for replacement in 2021. Given the unique nature of the drainage crossing, the original plan was a design-build RFP, which was issued for the replacement or rehabilitation of the drainage crossing to allow for potential unique or creative solutions to be proposed from the market. Unfortunately, only a single submission was received at that time at a cost of $769,990. And though the solution was considered innovative, this cost far exceeded budget and expected costs. So staff in Public Works and Engineering have deliberated over the potential requirements and scope to replace this drainage crossing and developed a plan to do so, which generally includes maintain a single alternating lane of traffic, excavate to the elevation of the manhole inlet and install a cross culvert at that elevation in stages, install erosion protection down the slope from the outlet of the new cross culvert, and abandon and grout the existing drainage crossing. The new cross culvert would still have a significant amount of cover over it, approximately 10 meters, which had to be taken into consideration whenever we were reviewing the options that were included in the proposals. The RFP document required that suppliers include in their submission the maximum design cover of the product included in their proposal, and the HDPE or plastic option proposals do not allow for the required cover at this location. As such, we did not move forward with recommending the lowest cost option, as it did not meet the design requirements for the replacement. However, we did move forward with a polymer coated CSP. Given the complexity and cost of replacing a culvert with this much cover, it provides a greater life cycle benefit. Given the supply came in at $42,470, the approval went through under the Director's signing authority. Information item number 2 is B044, Douglas Bridge Construction Traffic Management. I'd like to advise committee of a typo on options 3 and option 4. So they should read option 3, stage construction, close and detour Hindford Road and South McNaughton Road, and option 4, stage construction, close and detour Hindford Road. Under these two options, the bridge would not be closed and it would operate under stage construction during the project. So to provide some further background, the County of Renfrew has budgeted for the rehabilitation of County Structure B044 Douglas Bridge in 2023. Douglas Bridge is located on County Road 5, Stone Road, 0.2 kilometers south of Highway 60 in the township of Edmaston Brumley. The design for the rehabilitation is nearing completion, and the consultant had identified the most cost-effective means of traffic management during construction as full closure of the bridge with a 15.7 kilometer detour. However, after consultation with the Township of Edmaston Brumley Public Works staff, they have identified that this should be reconsidered, as a detour would have a significant impact on the response time of their fire department and other EMS. As such, county staff deliberated with our design consultant in order to review other perceivable options for traffic management at Douglas Bridge during construction, and they're provided summarized there. So option 1 is full closure with detour. Again, we would not like to move forward with full closure as it has a significant impact on the EMS services. Option 2 is stage construction without a detour. This option comes at a great cost, as due to the nearby intersection, that intersection would have to be fully signalized during the construction project, which has a significant increase in the construction cost. Option 3 is stage construction with closure and detouring of Hindford Road and South McNaughton Road. This would allow for the use of portable traffic signals at the intersection, as the two side roads would no longer need to be signalized. However, it comes at a slightly greater cost than option 4, which is stage construction of the bridge and closure and detour of Hindford Road at an estimated cost of $875,000. This is significantly less than fully not having any closures at the bridge, and does not have the great impact on EMS that closure of the bridge would have. Additionally, the closure of Hindford Road would still be coned off so that if EMS did need access, it could be permitted down the road. And staff have requested at this time that the design consultant proceed with option 4, managing traffic during rehabilitation of County Structure B044, as it has far less impact on traffic than option 1, moderately less impact than option 3, and is much less costly than option 2. And that is all of the information items at this time. I'll pause there to see if there's any discussion, Chair.
Microphone, Chair.
No? Okay.
Number 1 is just information if you're going backwards.
Yeah, item 1 is information, and 2 is information, right? Do I need any mover or seconder for the change to the staff recommendation? No? Okay. So we're on to resolutions then. Is that correct? Yep.
That is correct, sir.
Sorry.
Taylor?
Sorry,
Oh.
do we not want to go over information items 1 and 2 first?
Pardon?
Do we not want to review information items 1 and 2 first?
Okay. So, Taylor, you wrote them out, you read them out. Is there any, on item 1, is there any information on item 1 that has been read out to us that needs to be reviewed? Town of Renfrew.
Thank you. So, as I understand this, and if I remember the pictures that we saw during budget, or I've seen somewhere, was a budget or last committee. Initially, we were looking at digging down 30-odd feet and replacing a larger culvert, and now we're looking at doing something different, which is not quite as extensive a dig, and it's using the existing infrastructure that's in the ground by adding in this culvert that we're adding in. Is that how I understand it? And in the process, saving a few $100,000?
Taylor, please.
Thank you, Chair, through you to the warden. So we are presenting a different approach than what was in the design build proposal. They had proposed a trenchless option, driving the pipe through the existing embankment and grouting the existing drainage crossing. What we're proposing to accomplish with our day labor services is a full excavation. However, we are going to incorporate our Lessard Bridge in order to maintain an alternating lane of traffic during the construction project and complete it in stages.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the information item, County Road 635, sorry. None? The Douglas Bridge. Town of Empire.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just curious if the mayor of Township of Adamson Bromley was made aware of the difference in the wording. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question. Yes, I actually spoke directly to the mayor of Evanston Bromley, and he's aware that the Hindford Road will be closed, The bridge will be a staged construction where it will be one lane open at both times. And I made it clear why Hindford had to close was because of the close proximity to the work, that we would actually need a four-way traffic intersection installed, which was cost prohibitive. So he well understands the issue. But he's thankful that the bridge is not closed.
Any other comments on item 2, please? None being seen? Resolutions. County Road, White Lake Road, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the recommendation on item number 3, County Road 2, White Lake Road, and 23 Highland Road speed study follow-up, is that Operations Committee recommends to County Council that no adjustment in speed is required at this time for County Road 2, White Lake Road, and County Road 23 Highland Road.
Comments on County Road 2?
Sorry, if you just get a motion to put on the table. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, and I didn't read my paper again. Yep, so do I have a mover for that? Town of Vampire. Town of Renfrew. Comments? Mayor McKenzie.
Thank you, and thank you to staff for the ongoing discussion about this issue and continued feedback, and for coming down to our township to discuss this. Again, this is a carryover from the previous council. So I'm going to ask that this be tabled again. I understand the inconvenience. We have set up a committee structure. We have a public safety committee that includes fire, police, and road safety. We had a meeting scheduled for February 28th, and that was the snow day. So we have not had, this council has not had a chance to address this properly. I understand it was already deferred once, but again, seeing there is no, the recommendation is for no action, I would like to request that this be tabled again for 2 months. That'll give us time to go through the proper process in our own township and allow committee and council to make a motion or not based on the speed study that was done and the other documentation that's available here. But just for sake of process, if we could have that would be appreciated. So I'd like to move that this be tabled for another 2 months. If I may?
Okay. Need guidance on that, please?
Yep, I just need a second to the motion. A second to the motion to
Second
table.
for the motion?
Yeah.
Table, okay. Mayor McKenzie has moved the motion to table this for 2 months. He deferred, yeah. Second by Town of Vampire. Any discussion on that?
On this particular, sorry, this particular motion is not debatable. You're just looking for a vote of the majority
Okay.
to move it along.
It's well looked after. So, Mayor McKenzie, your wish is granted, and that.
All in favor?
Oh, all in favor, okay. We all in favor? Carry. Okay. We are on to. Yeah. Transportation Master Plan.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the recommendation here is that Operations Committee recommends that the County of Renfrew portion of the request for proposal PWC 2022-25 as submitted by McIntosh Perry Consulting Engineering Limited, Carp, Ontario, for professional services for a transportation master plan in the amount of $151,787 plus HST be approved, and further that County Council pass a bylaw to authorize the execution of a professional services agreement for the contract.
Okay, I need a mover and a seconder to get it on the table, please. Moved by the town of Renfrew, second by the town of Van Pryor. Discussion.
If I may, Chair, just to provide some background on this one.
Okay.
So as committee's aware, there's a number of growth-related items that have come up over the past, well, number of years. The purpose of the Transportation Master Plan is to identify these projects well ahead of time so that we know where we have these shortfalls related to growth. And we have partnered with a number of local municipalities on this as well, who are going to have their own transportation master plans developed as part of this program. The costs for which are separated out, so each participating municipality is responsible for the costs related to their own transportation master plan. The county's portion will include consultation with all local municipalities within the county of Renfrew to ensure that it incorporates comments from all stakeholders involved.
Okay, so I have a mover and a seconder, a discussion on the Transportation Master Plan. Town of Van Pryor.
Thank you, Chair. When we get this Transportation Master Plan done, we had one in 2010 with a bunch of recommendations, and none were actioned. So with this one, maybe when it's passed, we can make the asset management plan with a budgeting to say, i.e., the Circular Division and Baskin will be done in whatever year between the years that we've identified, just so we have a plan on when we're going to do this master plan, or what's the use of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Burton.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Just for clarification, the Transportation Master Plan that Councillor Lynch is referring to is a 2009 Transportation Master Plan that was done by the town of Van Pryor. The County of Renfrew has never undertaken a Transportation Master Plan, so this is our first attempt at getting that. But thank you, Councillor Lynch.
Thank you. I was confused about that. I was busily trying to find that master plan. I don't remember a master plan because I've been complaining about this for 10 years. So no, I'm glad to see we're doing it. I think it's important, and I'm glad to see that we were able to partner with several other adjoining municipalities, which should allow some greater planning going forward. So I'm glad to see this. Thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you. Is somebody? Oh, I got somebody. Okay. Any other discussion on the master plan? Nothing going forward? All in favor? Carried. County Road 64.
Thank you,
Road
Chair. Through
agreement.
you to committee. Item number 5 is County Road 64, Opeonka Road Access Agreement. And the recommendation is that the Operations Committee recommends that County Council pass a bylaw to execute a road access agreement along County Road 64, Opeonka Road, in the Township of Bonnechere Valley between Arturo Patag Miku, Belen de la Lamban Miku, Vincent Arthur Miku, and Jabel Mika Miku, and the County of Renfrew.
Mover and seconder to get it on the floor, please. Moved by Mayor McKenzie, second by Councillor Lynch. And the background, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to committee, the background is that the owners of the property adjacent to County Road 64, Opeonka Road, in the geographic township of Sebastopol in the township of Bonnechere Valley, have submitted a severance application for a new lot fronting on County Road 64. The creation of the new lot has been granted on the condition that the applicant enters into an agreement with the county regarding access to County Road 64 due to the restrictions in entrance spacing and sight line requirements. The new lot is described as part of lots 15 and 16, Range C South in the township of Sebastopol, shown as parts 1 and 3 on registered plan 49R 20259. The mutual access will serve as the point for both the severed lot and the retained lands. The new lot could not meet the county's requirements for entrance spacing or sight lines. It is therefore necessary to have a road access agreement identifying the entrance for the lot described above and shown on registered plan 49R 20259, attached as Appendix IN5. A map showing the property is attached to this report as Appendix IN6, and the road access agreement is to be registered and run with the title to the land so that future owners are aware of the road access agreement as well.
Discussion. None being heard or seen. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you, Chair. That ends the infrastructure portion of the report.
Thank you. We
Chair.
will move on.
And Chair, if I may, I'll actually deliver the Operations Division report. Mr. Boulder took ill this morning, so he had to go home,
okay.
so I'm second. So item 1 here under information on page 69 is the winter season has provided a variety of winter weather conditions that require staff responses. Table 1 provides a summary of the winter events, material usage, and precipitation amount in the months of November through February. Table 2 outlines the significant weather events declared to date for the 2022-23 winter season. Staff, of course, continue to be ready to respond to winter events as they occur. Spring load restrictions. So in keeping with the county's bylaw to designate a reduced load period on county roads, which pertains to spring load restrictions, such restrictions may be imposed commencing March 1st and extending to May 31st. Over the coming weeks, staff will monitor the spring weather conditions to determine the optimum time to impose the spring load restrictions. And at the time of writing this report, no restrictions have been implemented or scheduled. The county will be placing advertisements in local newspapers and the county website to advise haulers of the spring load restrictions. And under quotes and tenders in item 3, so PWO 2023-01, one tandem plow truck and spreader unit. So tenders were received for the tandem truck and spreader unit, and the results are as follows. Rush Truck Centers of Canada Limited in Pembroke, Ontario were the only bidders at $429,964.09. In order to determine award, Public Works staff are reviewing the bid conformance to the tender and compliance to the corporate policy GAO1. So we'll come back with further information on that one in the next report. Item B is the municipal supply tender. So as with every year, we send out a letter to all our partner municipalities and advise them of planned tenders and request if they would like to participate and provide a response to the questionnaire included as part of the letter of February 3rd, 2023. The tenders included in circulation and the balance of tenders that form part of the approval budget will be released from the Operations Division starting in early March. A total of 7 local municipalities responded requesting participation. So the participating municipalities include the town of Arnprior, the townships of Bonaventure Valley, Greater Madawaska, Horton, Laurentian Valley, Madawaska Valley, and McNabb Braeside. So the municipalities are going to participate with the county of Renfrew on tenders for pavement marking, traffic signs, decals and blanks, steel signposts, street sweeping, and manhole and or catch basin cleaning. And then item 4 is just is a good note, good note that we like to send along is the Township of Bonaventure Valley. In terms of municipal cooperation with us in our lower tiers, Township of Bonaventure Valley are actually using our backup plow truck and spreader for until March 22nd. So they're very pleased to have it, and we're very pleased that we can loan it to them. So we're pleased with that. And that, Chair, concludes the operations report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the winter operations, number 1, to complement our public relations media for the instantaneous storm warnings, the significant weather events. We get them very timely in Arnprior, and the closure at the same time. which we pass on to our local residents. So thank you very much to our media.
It'd be easier if you were just sitting there pushing a button.
It's like Zoom.
Yeah.
Real world.
Yeah, that's right. Any other comments on the operation reports? Town of Renfrew.
Just a question, item 2, spring load restrictions. I've sort of had the impression that the ground really hasn't frozen much throughout the year, so is there any concerns about the impact of this winter on our roads?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Actually, we use a freeze-thaw cycle that Mr. Bolduc keeps track of. So it's 2 curves for simplicity, and when they meet, that's when we plan them when they meet a week before. So right now, no concern as of yet. So right now, load restrictions are not in place. The bylaw says we can, but they're not. We'll notify the public prior to.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the operation reports? None being seen? All in favor? No?
You need a mover and a seconder.
No, you still have a few more items to go through, Chair, I believe.
Pardon?
Just because we're doing an assessment of all the items.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anybody had any questions on numbers 3 and 4.
Oh,
Still,
okay.
sorry, Chair.
No, not sorry. Just not there yet. Okay, item 3, the operation report. Town of Vampire. Oh, I thought I seen your hand up. Okay. Item 4 then. None being seen. So we're okay with all in order, all in favor now?
I need a mover and a second to accept the department report as a whole.
Okay. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the departmental report as a whole? Moved by the Town of Renfrew, second by the Township of McNabb-Braeside. All in favor? Any, no discussion, right? Okay, new business. None being heard? Closed meeting, and there was none at the time of mailing. Are we clear now, Clerk? Yeah. Good. The next day of the meeting will be April 11th at 1 o'clock. And I need a mover and a second for adjournment, please. Moved by Town of Vampire, second by, Councillor Watts. I'll catch on yet. Even got a bigger picture on the center screen now. Okay, any discussion on that? All in favor? Moved. And what's that? Yeah.